This is the High Performance Corner, a closer look at the fastest race boats in the world. Brought to you by Michelob Light.
Speaking of high performance, the Budweiser racing team has taken a big, giant step, advanced step in technology. Dewey Norton, you designed this start cart and testing cart, the only one of its kind. Does it give you that much of an advantage?
Well, we really think it does in a matter of safety with the engine, because it allows us to make all of our adjustments outside of the boat, prove the systems, make sure there's no vibrations or any problems with the engine prior to even going into the boat. We wanted a way that we could run the engine as if it was in the boat, but be able to make our adjustments, our oil pressure adjustments, fuel pressure adjustments, our look for leaks in the fuel system and the oil system. We have our own fuel system, our own fuel pressure pump, our own battery start system. The relay system is identical in the boat. In fact, if we should have a malfunction in the boat system, all we have to do is remove the component that's in the cart and put it right in the boat and it'll work fine.
I tell you that Jim Henrik will do anything to get on stage. Some of the entertainment going on here at Penn's Landing on the main straightaway. Racing attracts racers of all kinds, and a good example is that of Chip Hanauer's guest.
Chip, this is quite a pair here. We got Rick Mears and Chip yourself. What are you doing? Just giving a little tour?
Well, the Penske people were really nice to us. They're just down the road in Reading, Pennsylvania. And as you know, in New York, we suffered a lot of damage. We're looking for a port in a storm, and they gave us that. So I think there's going to be a lot of the Penske people come down and watch the race.
Rick, have you seen any unlimited racing?
Not other than TV. You know, I've watched them on TV, but I've never been to a race. This is the first one. I'm pretty excited about it.
Did it surprise you at all? The cockpits are fairly similar as far as the reinforcement protection.
Yeah, they really are. You know, very similar in that respect. And, you know, we were talking about some of the ways that you do different things and keeping the boost up and that kind of stuff, and things like that are similar. But what isn't similar is the fact that these depend on water and air, and I never have really felt that water and air are dependable. So these things are quick.
Which you have, I believe. Don't you have the record at Indy as far as a lap, what, 2:17, something like that?
Yes, we were fortunate. Pennzoil car was working good there, and we did get the record, and then we set a closed course record at Michigan at 2:23. And but, you know, records, it probably won't last through the next Michigan race. Somebody's liable to break the thing, so you never know.
Well, Chip's had his share of records, too. Little different, though, 200 miles an hour on water as opposed to asphalt.
You bet. That's probably about like us running about 450.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Thanks for being with us, Rick.
Thank you.
Back to racing, there are now some serious doubts as to whether or not they'll be able to have a final here in Philadelphia. We'll have more in a minute. Yeah, the Jersey Skiffs are giving it a try on this rough Delaware River. Let's get an update on the hydroplanes now from Commissioner Don Jones.
Given the fans a good show so far. The water conditions are really, they're not even marginal. It's bad, but we're going to try to go ahead with another heat of pistons and turbine starting at 440 and then 510 on the turbine boat. Weather conditions pending, however. We're still going to use the weather as that weather vane. We don't want to jeopardize our drivers or our equipment, but right now we're scheduled to go at 440 on the piston boat.
We understand some of the drivers are saying they just don't want any part of it out there.
Yeah, that's right, Don. The 7-Eleven driver, Steve Reynolds, came in on the last run and said it was too rough for him to run, and that shows good sense to me. You know, I mean, you know, it's really bad out there, and you know, we've never run in water like this before. What can I tell you?
What about your boat? We understand there's some damage.
Oh, yeah, we've sustained some pretty bad damage, but, you know, we'll be there to go racing if we go racing.
In the meantime, this gives us an opportunity for our weekly Mercury update. Let's watch.
Sunday Lake, nestled among the pine trees of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, was the setting for the American Powerboat Association Stock Outboard Nationals and the final round of the Mercury Challenge Series. The week-long event saw powerboat racers gather with their families from across the United States and Canada. The lure of the large $20,000 purse in the Challenge Series and the chance at a national title attracted a large field of skilled drivers to compete in the hydroplane and runabout classes on the 1 2/3 mile course. In the two-heat final of the 25 Superstock runabout class, Vic Brinkman of Michigan Center, Michigan took the win in the first heat, with David DeWalt of Reading, Pennsylvania taking second. But the second heat was disallowed and rerun when it was determined that the glare of the late afternoon sun on the water hampered visibility of the start clock. When the heat was restarted, Brinkman again took the win to capture the national title.
You had superior speed all day long down the straightaways, 1.23 miles around. It really showed, and you really started to pull away from David DeWalt, last year's champion.
Yeah, well, like you say, we've been out working this week here and finally got around to it. I'm in the propeller business, and so I do this, and so I haven't had time to do my own work, and so we've been just behind him a little bit all summer. Now we finally caught him and got ahead of him.
Vic, congratulations, a big victory for you. Round 3 of the Mercury Challenge Series, and a great day for you today.
Thank you.
When the final Mercury Challenge points were tallied for the 3-race series, it was David DeWalt who led the way easily, with Brinkman, Miller, and Zolkowski rounding out the field. Competition was close all year in the 25 Superstock Hydro class, with Steve Warnock of Pewaukee, Wisconsin, and Jeff Hutchins of Lake Placid, Florida, running close in points going into the final. But the weekend belonged to Warnock as he took the Mercury Challenge crown and the national title.
Congratulations, Steve Warnock, Pewaukee, Wisconsin. You worked your tail off to come up with a victory here, especially in a second heat against Jeff Hutchins.
It sure was. I could find out that going into the wind, I had a little speed on him, and Jeff was blowing inside the course. I tried to stay out. He had to slow down a couple times to make it around the first pin, and that's where I picked up some of the speed and pulled a little even. He drifted out one corner. I cut on the inside, and that's where I set it up for the last corner. The boat seemed to handle the water very well in the rough water. Jeff was having a little trouble in turn 2, and I said, just hang on and see what we can do. And if we got there, we did. If we didn't, well, we'll see how we end up with the rest of the guys and let the points tell the story.
Drivers from the West Coast dominated the final 2 heats of the D-Stock Hydro class, with Richard Hannon of Oregon and Larry Lister of California each taking a win. The wind and rough water conditions caused problems for the racers throughout the day.
Any problems with the conditions for you today?
This was one of the roughest courses that I've really seen in this type of a championship. And being one of the finals in the challenge, everybody was set up to really move. So it was pretty hairy on the backstretch, the worst I've ever seen. The front stretch was not bad. We had a wind coming into the boats, but the backstretch with no wind, drop the noses down, you're on your sponsons a lot more.
The win was enough to give Lister 4th place in the series, with Matt D'Agostino taking 1st, Phil Van Sickle placing 2nd, and Dee Berghauer taking 3rd. From Wakefield, Michigan, for the Mercury Challenge Series, this is Dave Michaels reporting.
We're in Philadelphia with a picture postcard shot of the Graf's house, where Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. Don Poyer along with Jim Henrik still in Philadelphia. The crowd of better than 200,000 still here waiting for the waters to subside, but well, we just don't know if it's going to happen.
That's the way it is. Please give me the go.
I'm standing here with Bob right now, explaining it to him that I'm calling the event off because of the rough water and the damage we've had already to our boat. We cannot afford any more damage.
That's a 10-4. Call it.
Okay.
Don, is it official now? The race been called?
Yes, Don. The water has not really subsided any. In fact, in many of the corners, the drivers who just came in indicated that the water is worse than what it was when we were previously racing. So the event has been called at this time.
Todd Yarling in the Auto Sunroof, the U-22, is one of the boats going out to test, and it is simply intolerable now. The wave's too high, and we just can't continue to race, which is a shame. Many of these people seeing hydroplane racing for the first time. The national points will remain the same. This race will have no effect. So the Miller American continues to hold that 569-point lead over the Budweiser, followed by the 711, Folsom Miss Madison, and the U-22, the Auto Sunroof, then the Squire Shop, the Bud Griffin, the U-15, Frank Kenny Unlimited, Mr. Pringles, and the list goes on and on. So no effect on national points. Here in Philadelphia, the boats go on to the West Coast.
In the rough water behind us, It's pretty easy to tell why we were no longer able to continue. And, Jim, it's a shame we couldn't declare a winner, but I think Philadelphia got a good taste of what hydroplane racing is about.
The worst conditions in 24 years of my doing any play-by-play, radio or television, for this sport, but I'll say one thing. The local committee and the fans themselves, the nicest people, they really liked what they saw, and for them, it was a success.
From now, the drivers have just about a month off. The crews and the owners and everybody else, they'll head down to San Diego to good, fast water, and then they'll wrap things up for 1987 at Las Vegas, Nevada. So for Jim Hendrick, I'm Don Poyer. Thanks for joining us here in the Delaware Valley and Camden, New Jersey, and of course, Philadelphia across the river. Thanks for joining us, and so long.
Air transportation is provided by Continental.